You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherlands calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa. Good evening, and welcome to the Pan-African Daily TV. This special Sunday show. Usually, we don't stream on Sundays, but in 2022, times are changing, and we're so motivated by the spirit of the Africans worldwide. The spirit of resilience, the spirit of overcoming, the strength and the protection and the joy to continue to live irrespective of every challenges that the world has gone through or has put us through, some systematic issues. Even from the 400 to 500 years that we've been talking about, the African has survived every single step. Close the door. Has survived every single step of the way. So we are so thankful and grateful, and that's the more reason why we, our elders, are coming up to motivate us, to actually show us that we are that kind of resilient people, that there's just some kind of favor. I don't know whether it's favor, or that's why most of our researchers and professors are saying we are the first frequency, we're the spiritual being. And that's why no matter all type of challenges that we go through, we resist, we are resilient, we overcome despite every challenges, right? So I want to thank all of you that are joining this conversation. Today is going to be a power show. Remember, we talked about, Africans and our solutions for unity, and we want to continue providing these solutions. But today is actually specifically targeted to really praise our resilience, our ability to keep loving life, right? Not to give up despite everything that we come and talk about here, like the challenges. Of course, they belong to it. But overall, today in this week, we're talking about that kind of strength. Like we're talking about the Afghan, the continent is at war or stuff like that, but the continent is jubilating, they're celebrating. So it's never going to stop. The life in the African is going to continue, and at a high speed, despite regardless of every situation that we all go through. Africans have the life in them. We have the spirit to live. We smile all the time. Even through our challenges and tough times, we go on with a smile on the face. And others wonder, why are they even always smiling? So we have our elder tonight, who is joining us at this special edition, particularly in 2022, Reverend Dr. Ninana Kweku, our health, mental, psychological activist, empowerment teacher and leader, is here tonight to really share this good news and perspective, to tell you, what, we are the people. It is our time. There is nothing like we're backing up on any circumstances. Our mental health has proven to us, our system, our creator, our ancestral DNA, and from our ancestors has proven that we are the people that would overcome and have overcame. And so there's no reason and no situation, regardless of what the world says about us, even what we think about ourselves, we find ourselves in this throne. So I'm very happy to have Reverend Dr. Ninana here. You see, each time he's coming on the show, we are all celebrating and just jubilating, because you take his story, you take his work, you take his experiences, you take all the counseling, the consultancy, the people he has accompanied in all different types of situations. And today he's sitting us to tell us that regardless of everything, it is well, it is fine with you Africans. Just put on that energy and love life and continue to live and look ahead. Good evening, Elder. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, well, it's morning here on the West Coast, but good morning and good evening. It's always a pleasure to be on the show with you, to be able to talk about and illuminate all of the things that are positive going on in the world as it relates to African people. Uh,
Yes.
a lot of people do not want to accept the mantra, but we are the chosen people. The only reason we are still here because we are the chosen people.
Mm,
We have been embedded with all of the tools that we need, not just to survive, but to excel out in the universe at whatever endeavor we take on. So I've been especially enlightened here. I turned 80 last Friday, and,
oh,
I was talking to my sister last night, and I said, I am, for whatever reason, I am more energized in 2022 than I've been in a long time. And that has nothing to do with me. It has to do with our connection to the creative forces in the universe. And
yes.
African people were given all of the tools necessary to be successful and to be grounded, to be family orientated, to be uh, organized in the village concept, that we don't need anything outside of that. But
Mm,
the only thing that's wrong with our whole philosophy is that we have been re-educated and miseducated about who we are and what we should be doing. So it is now time for us to get back to being yourself. I remember I had a teacher when I was in grade school. She said, be yourself. Stop trying to be like somebody else. And I didn't understand it then. I thought she was just being a mean teacher, just trying to dictate, how she wanted me to respond. But we have to be ourselves. Only way we can be ourselves is we have to eliminate all European, British, whatever continent, whatever country you happen to be in right now. You have to remove yourself from their activity in terms of how they perceive government or how they perceive power. And power to us is spiritual power, because the
mm,
spiritual power is what's going to take us uh, beyond our conceptualization and
mm,
into a universe where all things are, we are free, all things are equal, all people are worthy. And so to get to that point, you have to rise above the concepts that we've been institutionalized to believe are necessary for us to be able to survive. I am I am more than elated today, and with my son, my grandkids, my babies, and I think about them when I think about what I should be doing and how I can kind of reshape the world that they're going to have to exist in.
mm,
And I said, all I have to do is continue to fight, continue to be who I am, and to continue to believe in a God long before we heard of Islam, long before we heard of Christianity, long before we heard of Buddhism, long before we heard of Judaism, is to be that person that God created long before these people came into existence. And that's difficult for some people because they don't read, they don't study. There is more than enough information out there for us to be able to gravitate and get the information necessary for us to be happy. But
mm,
because we're so busy being caught up in this world of things and
yes.
power, perceived power, because it's not real power. You can only control people so long with armies and with rules and regulations until at some point they're going to exercise their right to be an individual. And to be an individual means to be African. Be an individual means to be part of a process that was established long before we came in contact with these people. So we
Mm,
are now, I feel like in 2022, on the road back to Africa. We are on the road back. And all we have to do is just stay on that path, and we're going to be all right. Our people are going to continue to not survive, but we're going to continue to flourish, and we're going to continue to love each other, and we're going to continue to believe in the one creator that brought us into existence, and nothing can stop that. So, I mean,
nothing.
Yeah, nothing. There's nothing that they can put forth that can stop the energy of the one creator that brought us forth from the beginning of time. And we have to believe that with all of our heart and all of your mind, because they are interconnected. Once we accept that responsibility, then life becomes, you become the teacher, you become the person that you're supposed to be, you become the illuminator, the person that when people walk by you in the street, they look at you and they know that there's something special about you. It doesn't matter whether you're in rags or whether you're in silk. They see it and they know it, and they say, how do these people do it? How do they do it? And the reality of it is they can't conceptualize who we are. But we have allowed the people who lack the inability to conceptualize and understand who we are to set the tone for how we are going to be perceived throughout the world. So it's great. This is a great Sunday, uh, and tomorrow is going to be a great Monday, and every day is going to be great as long as we keep our eyes on the prize. And the prize is Africa, is African people globally to come together. And I know that we live in a time where, like I said, we have COVID, and we live in a time where it seems like we're more divided than ever because you got different people coming on TV and different places, arguing and fighting with each other about who has the best answer for us to be successful. But the reality, there's only one answer, and that answer is that we have to come together. We have to
Mm.
stop fighting with each other. Even if you see your brother or sister doing something that you may not necessarily approve of, you have to continue to try to elevate them up. You don't need to be trying to cut them down, because the creative forces in the universe will set them straight. And it's one of those things where people say that you can't get revenge for harm that's been done to you, because all you do is destroy yourself in the process. So we have to keep moving forward, thinking, being positive, loving life, enjoying every day that we wake up, and the air that we breathe and the sun shining on our faces. We have to learn to appreciate those things and allow God to do his work. Let the creator do his work. And we do our work, because he will exuberate the power necessary for us to carry forth with his agenda. And that's my spiel for this Sunday, 2022. So any questions you guys might want to ask me, or anything that any subject matter that you want to bring up, let's go. I'm ready for it today.
Ha!
Okay.
Happy Earth Day, first of all, Reverend. Thank you so much. I mean, you turn 80 and you're looking so more even younger. I mean, I was having a conversation today with one doctor, a physician. I think he does more in the I don't know whether it's physical uh, operations and whatever.
Mhm.
And when we talked about our unity and the perception and the divisiveness in our, and he told me one thing, Dr. Susan Teta, you know what? Talk to a psychologist. Then I said, I'm having the best one tonight on the program. So he said, because everything is the mind. And what we should be doing on the Pan African Daily TV is getting psychologists that can heal us, like you, Dr. Reverend, and we have Dr. Wade Nobles, who are our correspondents and our psychologists in this aspect. Because he said, us like other doctors, you just see with doctors to do all the or perform all the tasks, but the mind is everything. The mind
But,
is
oh,
everything. Would you
yeah,
agree?
I know Dr. Wade Nobles. He lives here in the Bay Area, so I know a lot of other good brothers who are psychologists who bring forth this mantra of connecting the mind and the heart. All of these things need to be connected together. That's the soul of who you are.
Mm,
And when you operate in a divisive sense, you're thinking about stuff and you're doing stuff because you think it and not because you feel it. If you don't feel it, then it's not real. And so
mm,
we have to understand that we do have one of the things that people are taught and I know in American culture is that somehow our mind control us. They don't teach us that we control our mind. We
mm,
control the thoughts that go through our head each day. And we are the only one who can stop those thoughts from existing. by the practice and the process that we go through every day. You know, we don't you can look at something and some people will look at something and say it's negative. I can look at that same situation and say it's positive
mm,
because that's where the situation is at that particular time. And this is where they need to be in order to move to the next level. We are
mm,
constantly going through different levels of awareness. And but when we shut down, or when we don't use our mind and spirit connected, then somehow we lose contact with reality that has
mm.
already been preordained for us to be involved in. So the mind, the heart, the spirit, all of these things, we talk about them as if they're one, but we are not a whole person without the cohesiveness of all those things being connected together. So it's time for us to really start to re-educating people instead of counseling people about some disease that somebody has said, oh, well, you have this, you have bipolar, you have this, or you have this. We need to talk about, wait a minute, you don't have any of those things. It's all in your mind. All of those things are in your mind. And so how do you get rid of disease? You get it. How do you get disease out of your body? You eat right. You eat the right diet. You drink plenty of fresh water. You exercise. Well, the brain and the mind and all of those connections are the same. How do you get well from those things? You clear those things out of your mind so that they don't impede your progress in what you're trying to do, what success you've laid out for yourself. They don't get in the way of you training your kids. Somebody should not be teaching you how to parent your kids. You already know how to parent your kids, but yet we have Dr. Spock, we have all these different counselors and therapists telling us you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. Well, that is not who you are. And the minute that you start allowing outside influences into the space where you are supposed to be setting the tone and laying the groundwork for how your children are going to be, how your home is going to be, how your community is going to be, how your village is going to be, those things are all interconnected. And it's absolute fundamental that we get back to doing those things in spite of the United States of America, in spite of China, in spite of Britain, in spite of any other system in the universe. We have to get back to what's African. And Africa means that we think with one mind. We have one village, and that we all deserve to be treated with love and kindness and respect. And we over here fighting for civil rights when we should be talking about human rights. It's human to be kind to another individual. It doesn't matter about some book. It's human to love your brothers and your sisters. It's human to want to be the person that lays the foundation for children to look up to, and you become their hero. They should not be looking at TV and Michael Jordans and these people for as the heroes. The heroes are the people who continue to lay the foundation and rekindle and rebuild the village. So
Absolutely.
yes. So it's so important for people to understand that every experience that you've had in your life is not the totality of who you are. It's mere what's the word I'm looking for? It's mere just part of an existence that you have been able to walk through. It's
Mhm.
not who you are. All of the bad things that's happened to you, that's not who you are. Those are the things that you've experienced. Now, in order for you to change that dynamic, is that you have to understand that. You must understand that your surroundings does not make you decide what you're going to be or how you're going to be or what your feelings are going to be or whether you're going to love somebody or whether you don't love them. Those things have nothing to do with that. All of that is in your mind. Your mind is the place where we should live, and not in this schism that has been laid forth for us to believe that this is who we are. If you study this, this is who you are. If you read this, this is who you are. I am who I am because I am one with the creator. I am one with the energy of the universe. And when we started teaching our children that, nothing, nothing can stop them from being successful. Nothing can stop them from being from coming and playing their role in the rebuilding of the village, or the connectedness of the village. Nothing will be able to stop them, because as a human nature, our nature is that we want to do good. I have not met anybody, even in prison or wherever you meet people, they wanted to do good. They just didn't have the direction, or didn't know how to get started in that, to in that process. So we have to continue to lay out a goodness, a spiritual awareness, a spiritual awareness of love, a kindness that exuberates all things in the universe, so that people will understand that, you know, I am responsible for a part of what's going on in this universe. Each one of us has a role to play. And when we don't play our role, then life becomes very discombobulated. We have to
Mhm.
do what is natural for us to do. And when we don't do that, and then we sit back and we wonder, why am I experiencing these negative vibrations around me? You experience them because you allow them to come into your space and take over your universe. And your universe is the spirit of the one creator, the spirit of Africa, the spirit of the village, the spirit of raising children, the spirit of the joy and laughter of seeing children play, and without confusion. Those things are the things that make you uh, a great human being. When you feel those things, instead of feeling like, well, I have $50 million, or I have this car, I live in this, uh, I live in this area. My house is worth X amount of dollars. So when we started putting all of our emphasis on things versus emphasis on human people, human existence, and love and kindness and joy and laughter. Like you say, we are laughing. It's 2022, and I am overjoyed to be here on this planet, because deep in my heart and in my spirit, I know that the Creator has something even better for me that's coming up, and I have to be focused and ready in order for me to be utilized to be able to do that. But if I close my mind and start to becoming uh, involved in all these other things that people deem success, then I will lose my way. I'll lose my joy. I'll lose my spirit. I'll lose my well being. I'll lose the love that I feel for myself, as the same love that I feel for my brothers and sisters. And I don't want to ever lose that, because the minute that you lose that, then you have succumbed to all of the evils and all of this disorganization among all these different systems that claim that they can manage people. These systems have proven that they're incapable of managing people. Every time you turn around, there's a war. Russia right now is over there trying to precipitate a war. And all of NATO and the US is all caught up in this. Is because they don't have the answers. We have the answers. But the thing about it is, we have to stop participating in their agenda and start participating in an African agenda. One of peace, love, and harmony. So, um, you, you tell me where do we want to go? Is there questions that people want to ask? I'm happy to answer or respond in any way that I know how.
Yes. I mean, we are still on my own questions, and we'll be opening up the lines
Okay.
after we finish. We want to dig into the concept of how do we be at peace with our mind. For instance, we are living in a situation where I think to have that harmony, even if we say everything depends on us, but we're living in a global village or in a global world, even on the continent on Africa, we don't exist without one another, isn't it?
But no, we don't exist without one another. But just because the universe around us is in a state of confusion, the only way that we can keep that smile on our face, the only way that we can maintain that harmony, is to for us to take ourselves out of that environment. And if we can't do it physically, the one place that they can't control is the mind.
Mm-hmm.
We have the ability to abstain from things that we deem unhealthy for us to be in. And
Mm.
so, irregardless of what's going on in the universe, if negative pressures and things that go on in the universe was the key to how we are as people, we would all be in disarray. But there are
Absolutely.
brothers and sisters around this planet who are fighting every day to maintain their own sanity, as they
Mm.
refer to it. We maintain our own harmony. We maintain that our own mental capacity, the ability to take in things that are beneficial and to exercise things that are non beneficial. So
Mm.
it's important. In spite of all the things that go on, if there's a book out called "Colliding Worlds," and I don't remember the author's name, but the reality of it is that ever since we've been in existence as humans on the planet, there have been people who have been coming and invading each other's space and being destructive of homelands and wars. And if you read this book, you'll find that about every 2,000 years or so, a major cataclysm takes place where people get frightened or disorganized and discombobulated. Just like now, COVID has that same potential to to put us in a state of confusion and in this feeling of being lost and
Mm-hmm.
not being in control of what's going on. And the reality of it is that there are things that worse than COVID have been here, and our
Yes.
people have survived them. We have survived every one of them, and we will survive this one also. But we must continue to believe and understand, not believe, but we must continue to know where our power source lies. And our power source lies in the ancient teachings of African people. And we must maintain it and continue in that vein if we hope to survive all of these things that's going to be coming after us. Because after COVID is gone, something else will be coming. The
Mm-hmm.
world, the world in its totality will never be destroyed. And you
Mm-hmm.
hear people always talking about the world being destroyed. The world has never been destroyed. They talk about the flood of Noah and everybody, but there were people on this earth. Those are just stories. Those are allegories. Those are not reality. Our people have been on this planet since the existence, and we're still here. And in spite of all of the things that they have tried to handicap us with their rules, their regulations, and feeding us wrong and bad information about who we are still here. You are still
Mm-hmm.
here, and Doctor Nobles is still here. Doctor Craig Adams is here. He's one of the leading psychologists here in the Bay Area. Uh, I know brothers in every state in the United States who are fighting hard, brothers and sisters. Dr. Kofi out of Washington, D.C. We are all fighting to get the message out to our people to keep your head up and walk with your head up in there toward the sun because God is on your side.
Mm-hmm.
God has given us all power. He gave man power. And that's the way the mythological story goes. We were given that power because we were created in the image of that power. Out of that power, we
Mm-hmm.
came. And we will never be defeated unless we allow them to control our thoughts. And they control our thoughts through their so-called education or their so-called religions and whatever
Mm-hmm.
else that they can come up with to get us confused and separated against each other, church against church, and all these different belief systems. We have to get back to one the basics. The basics is that all humanity deserves to be here, and
Mm.
we have a responsibility to protect the right of every human in existence to be here. But we
Absolutely.
must, yes, we must fight for that. That is the fight that we have to get up in every day. In spite of you walk out your door, there's going to be something negative going on there. You have to
Mm.
see how can I bring good out of bad? How can I bring good out of evil? And
Mm.
that's the chess. So
Exactly. Reverend, you are speaking particularly as a psychologist. I think it makes a lot of sense because you've been going through I don't, all cases, which in any case, one would think that if not because of the sanity of your mind, like they say, if you really are involved in mad people, you become mad or something like that. Just like to bring the analysis, like, if how did you manage it to go through all you know uh, very difficult cases like this without being affected? So definitely what you're saying is we have to keep our mind, and the mind is everything, regardless of everything that is surrounding us. The way we perceive and the way we control the information that we take in and how we give out matters, isn't it?
yes, well, it is. It comes down to, we all experience all this negative stuff going on around us, each and every one of us. It's our interpretation, how we perceive that to be. Uh, is that something that has the ability to overpower the energy or the power that I already have? So if I'm accepting that action, then what I'm saying, that energy is more powerful than my creator.
Mm,
And there's nothing more powerful than my creator. And it's just like when we see people and they are suffering,
suffering.
and they're going through processes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, they're suffering and they're going through processes and they don't understand it. So when we don't understand things, we give up, or either we try to discard them. They don't go away. It is your responsibility to understand that I am one with the Creator. There is none more powerful than that. And although each one of us at some point in time in the process of life will go and move into another lifespan. When we die, like it's like when we leave here, this earth, this physical being that I am right now, that we pass into another spiritual realm. So, but we've been convinced by society and religions that somehow that is the end. How do we know that that's not the beginning? So you have to train your mind to think that there is no such thing as an end. It's ongoing. It's a process of continuous continuality. And so we will be here. Our offsprings will be here. Your grandkids and great grandkids and great grandkids up them will be here. And the example that we set forth now, today, the model that we emulate throughout our lives will be permeated throughout society if we hold fast to our who we are and not try to be somebody else and not be transformed by somebody else's religious text, or not being transformed because somebody tells us, well, this is a new day. Every day is a brand new day. The creator of the universe have established that every day is a new day, and we are one with that new day. And we'll be just like the ancestors. The ancestors is one with today. And they are here today because they are the ones who laid the ground rules for us to come along and be the next example. So we have to continue to practice, and we have to continue to educate. We have to continue to love ourselves. We have to continue to believe that the one creator uh, brought forth everything, and that everything is not going anywhere unless we allow ourselves to be infiltrated by all of these things around us.
Mhm.
We are one. We are one. We are powerful. We are loved, and we are here to love. We are not
Okay.
here to become millionaires. I said we're here to love and teach love and share love, and teach other people how they can access that power.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Another question coming up is like, it's it sounds very powerful and good, and it's just easy. Of course, we're talking to an elder who just turned 80 years, and a lot of your viewers are celebrating and they are wishing you all the happy out there, and that you're going to stay strong and younger, yeah, and younger and richer in spirituality to continue to teach us. You're going to live like your ancestors more than 120 years and still be very sane. Yes. So,
Yes.
but how do we actually get that possibility to train ourselves? I mean, if you look at, for instance, in our communities, Africans are the ones that are lynched. They're the ones that are, I don't know, abused in every sort. You look at the continent, okay, anything that would want to give you that encouragement, that everything is okay, it's either a war, it's either there's just something that is going on. But regardless of that situation, how can you perceive the 2 years now with the COVID and the strength and even the awakening of the African? What is it that we can say have contributed to that? One, is it the fact that we were shut down from the world that brought us more closer together? Number two, is it the that fear through this pandemic that, some people like, it reminded us of the need to love life, to embrace life, because the level at which, these communications and the lots of debt and everything that have gone through the system, and even the fear, the panic and everything during this pandemic. But regardless of that, people still want to get up and get the little energy that they have in them, to continue to put food on their table, to take care of their families, to be there. What is it that you can say? Is it just that we also needed this shutdown for us to connect more?
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily we needed this shutdown, because this is not the first catastrophic event that's taken place in the homes of African people,
Mm,
especially in America. I mean, if you look at America and how I remember my grandfather was a slave in the state of Virginia. And it always seemed to me, and I really didn't understand as a child, but now I do, how my grandmother and them, even when we knew there were no food in the house, somehow my grandmother was able to muster up something to put on the table for us to eat. And how we were abused or disrespected as a people.
mhm,
I watched my grandfather and them overcome those obstacles and still set the tone for how they wanted their children to be. In spite of all of the disrespect, abuse suffered by our people, we were able to rise up and continue to move forward. And I remember when we went to school, we had holes in our shoes and holes in our clothes, and sometimes we didn't have lunch to take to school. And my grandmother always encouraged us that you are the smartest one in the school.
mm,
You are going to do better. Don't make no difference. And we said, well, they're going to laugh at us. And she said, you just let them laugh, honey, because you're one of God's chosen. You're going to be all right. And for whatever reason, she always made us feel that way, feel like success was just a step away, that somehow we were going to be able to overcome whatever obstacles we came in contact with. And
mhm,
so naturally, as a young person, I was disconnected from them, and when had to go out in the world and didn't have a clue about how to survive. I wasn't yet in tuned with the power that existed within, and having that confidence and faith in who you are and what
mhm,
that meant in terms of you being successful or being not being successful. And I went through a lot of years where it's just like when I talk to people and I counsel people, and they tell me, well, I've done this, I've done this. I said, it doesn't matter what you've done. It's what you're going to do now, you
mhm,
know. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I suffered for them, and I probably caused pain and suffering for other people as well. But in order for me to move forward, I had to forgive myself and try to access forgiveness for all those that I had harmed, that I've came in contact with.
mm,
And so, you know, COVID to me is just another stumbling block in the road to moving forward, just like we've had many of those. We went through the 50s and 60s where they were beating us up, and the police would be allowed to walk in your house and arrest you, just because you were black. And I don't know, just so happened last night I was watching. Are you familiar with the Emmett Till case, where
No.
these guys, these white guys took him, went into his people's home, and I can identify with that, and took him out in the middle of the night because some white woman said he whistled at her. He was
Mm.
13 years old. They beat him to death, chopped him up, and then shot him in the head and threw him in a river. And the mother, and they tried to bury him before the mother was able to get there, but she fought and she was able to make them ship his body back to Chicago where she lived. And he was so badly beaten and disfigured from what these people did to him. They wanted to have the casket closed, and she refused. She said she wanted the world to see what they had done to her child. And she went on, and became a spokesperson for peace and for reality, for us to forgive and to move beyond, because she believed, as I believe, that if somebody do you wrong, you don't have to worry about getting revenge or getting even. The
Ashe.
wheels are already in the universe. They will be punished. They will be punished. And so the thing about how when we get taught these different religions and stuff is we get confused because they don't work for us. So then we start trying to, exercise our own demons for ourselves. In other words, we can't. We're not waiting on God. We're not waiting on Jesus. We're not waiting on Allah or none of these things. We were going to take care of it ourselves. But the reality of it is, if these religions were actually taught in the context that they were meant to be taught in, they would be teaching people to love and to elevate their thinking around whatever situation that comes into your purview.
Ashe.
Because the reality of it is that if somebody wants to harm you or me today, there is no way we can stop them. There's no way we can stop them because if to stop them, we'd have to have gods around us 24 hours a day, and they can kill presidents and leaders of worlds, so they wouldn't have any problem getting rid of you or I. But I believe that if they take me out, they're going to be setting an example for themselves that people are going to be able to look at, that my children are going to understand that hey, my dad stood for what he stood for, and I'm gonna follow that path. We set examples for what needs to happen, what's going to come behind us, and we should always keep in the front of our mind that everything we do sets a precedent for the people that follow you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you put something out in the universe, other people are going to follow that, good, bad, or indifferent. Some people are going to choose to follow that. So my example is that it's important that we all want to be remembered. We all want to be remembered, and that may be a selfishness on our part. But the reality of it is, if I'm going to be remembered, I want to be remembered as somebody who stood up, who spoke the truth, and who, whenever he came in contact with anyone in distress, tried to help alleviate that stress, you know, to alleviate that pressure, to elevate them into thinking the way that I think, so that they will pass that on to the next individual. They'll pass that on to their kids. They'll pass that on to their grandkids. That is the most important thing to me, is to set the example. I think Malcolm X said it better best. He said, every man leaves a legacy, whether he wants to or not. By using your mind, you have the ability to establish that example. By using your mind, you have the ability to establish the positive energy in the universe. You know, so my legacy can be negative or positive. It's my choice. And I think a lot of people we become self-centered and selfish, an overindulgence in things in the universe, and instead, if we just became more, more of a person who wants to give, who wants to share, who has something to share. If you're an evil person, you don't have anything to share. If you are a peace loving person who want to see everybody do good, every child have opportunity, every person should have a plate of food in front of them. If you are that kind of person, what's your legacy going to be? Your legacy is going to be that. That is what's going to be cremated throughout society. And whenever anybody mentions your name, Dr. Tata, they're going to think about all those beautiful and wonderful things and all those attributes that you had in your mind that you tried to exuberate and put out to the world. And so we have to fight for that. And the fight is not against society. The fight is to control your mind, to control your thoughts. Everybody has negative thoughts go through the mind, but you have the ability to turn those negative thoughts off and say, no, I'm not going to think that. This is what I want to think. And so I think when we give up and begin to succumb to negative functions of things that go on in the universe, then what we're doing is we're giving up. We're saying that our creator is not all powerful. And we know that that's not true. My creator is all powerful. I would not be sitting here today if my creator wasn't all powerful. And I'm sitting here because there is other responsibilities that I have to do before I go to the next phase of whatever that life is. And so we have that has to be the most primary, the most important thing in your brain, that you have importance, not because of how you look, but because of what you do. You have importance because you are setting the example for the next generation. You have importance because you are laying the groundwork and for all people to understand that peace is possible, love is possible. You know, global peace and love and harmony is possible, but it's only possible if we strive to achieve it, to keep it alive. Sure, we have COVID here, but COVID is, as far as I'm concerned, I see it as a temporary thing. It's something that we are going to overcome. We're going to live through, and some of us are not going to make it through. But it's not because we're bad people. It's because we have not educated ourselves well enough to understand that we can be successful at overcoming all obstacles, and all we have to do is to pay attention and follow your mind and your heart. Stop following all these people that says there's 1,000 different people got an opinion about what COVID is. You could go nuts, literally, setting up listening to all of these different ideas about what COVID is and how to overcome it and how we're going to beat it. We're going to defeat it here. We're going to defeat it here. We're going to stop being caught up in all of the stuff out there that people are saying. You got people out there claiming they're scientists and this is going to happen, and that the government is trying to implant stuff into your system and all these different things. I said, well, hey, I am not going to succumb to that. I'm going to succumb to the fact that I am here. And the reason I'm here is because the Creator have allowed me to be here. And no matter what they do or say out there, they're not going to be able to offset the path that I'm on, which is peace and harmony and justice and freedom and love for the entire universe.
It must be very hard as we, yes, a lot of people are saying, or Deanne Kim is saying, that is such a positive motivation, Reverend. You are bringing, you are illuminating, particularly in times like this, where a lot of people have committed suicide. They don't even know where the way forward. They just confuse the global confusion everywhere you see. But if you look at the continent of Africa, they're smiling, they're doing things. It's just like business as usual. and,
Mm.
and stuff like that, or even its diaspora as well. I mean,
Right.
that motivation and that spirit and that light, and you say is because we were the chosen and we need to keep
We
the
we
spirit
need we
light.
need to keep that focus alive because, like you say, people are on the continent and sometimes in situations that are so desperate that you wonder how do they continue to move forward? How can they
Mhm,
be singing and dancing? How can they be celebrating life? It's because whatever they're in right now is temporary, and we see it as long and outdrawn and all this kind of stuff. But the world, these people that's in power now only been in power a couple thousand years. The continent have been there for hundreds of millions of years, and people have existed and they've experienced. There's nothing that they can experience now that they haven't experienced at some point in time in the history and the annals
mhm,
of history. And so I just believe that, whatever, the only preparation that I can make to move forward and stay positive and want to be an example in the universe is to rise above these so-called situations that are presented by these systems and
mhm,
rise above all of that negative stuff and to believe that for once and all that God is in me. God is in my sons, he's in my grandkids, he's in you, he's in Dr. James Small, he's in Dr. Wade Nobles, he's in Dr. Covey, he's in all these people, Dr. Carrie Fraser, who I was speaking to last night. God exists. We sat here last night for 2 hours on doing a Zoom because we, and and we both recognize that our paths have been crossing for the last 30 years, and we are still doing the work, and
mhm,
we are still connected on a spiritual level
mhm,
because we both are doing the same thing. We are trying to create a space for people to be healthy. And the
mhm,
only way we can do that is to be healthy ourselves and to cleanse our minds and to cleanse our spirit of all this stuff that we exposed to and continue to move forward with in the traditions of African people and being a spiritual person and loving each and every person and understanding that every single person has worth. There's nobody that don't have worth. There's nobody
yes.
better than nobody, you know. And so that is the thing that motivates me to move forward is because I know that nobody's better than me and nobody's worse than me. We are all equal in the eyes of the created in the universe.
It sometimes it sounds like, maybe just like you said, some people are really given that task to do it. If
Mhm,
you, like you just recounted the story of your grandfather being a
mhm,
slave, or the story of this mother whose child was slaughtered at the age of 13, and we've seen
mhm,
all those things, the little boy that was put how many nutrients to blow off his mind for
mhm,
just some things that later on they discover he never did. And the same, this mother went out to ask for forgiveness.
mhm. She went out and until she died, she spoke around this country asking people to come together and she held no animosity in her heart even though they murdered her baby for nothing just because he was black. And I see on the scene here where great black to say, I don't believe I have divine protection.
Yes.
And I would say to him that that in lies the problem is that I do believe that we are under the protection of the one creator in the universe. We are under that protection. And we give it up when we start to believe something other than that. The minute that we start thinking that no, that's not feasible, or somehow in our mind, we've been because of our access to certain information, we start to believe that we're not we're not God's people, that we are not one with the creator. A lot of people like to teach that God is something outside of ourselves. I say that if that was true, we probably would be here today.
Hmm.
The reason we are here today is because we under divine protection. And I believe, just like my grandfather used to say, that everybody is given an ample amount of time to bring themselves up in their thinking process to
Mhm.
understanding that. And I think a lot of us go through our entire life, searching for stuff, but we may be searching for the wrong thing, or we may be looking in the wrong place for what that information. But to not to close our minds and think that one thing, that this is the ceiling and this is the floor. No, this is the beginning. 2022 is the beginning. It's the beginning of the next year, the next 20 years, and the next 100 years. And how we interact with that is based on how we think and how we came out of these previous years, how we come in, how we're going to overcome COVID, or how we're going to overcome racism, or how we're going to somehow bring African brothers and sisters back together to fight for a common cause. Those things are worthy to fight for. Those things, to me, would is what I believe that our Creator would want us to do. You know, I was always taught that lions take care of lions, elephants take care of elephants, and it's important that African people take care of African people. And so that's the objective that's in my mind. That it may be unrealistic to somebody, but it's not unrealistic to me, because I can see in my visions, and we all have vision. I see in my visions that one day we're going to all come together, where we'll be traveling back and forth, and people will be reconnecting with their families in Africa, and reconnecting with their roots. I see that. That's the vision that I see.
Mm.
And I will not be deterred from that. The minute that I'm deterred and start to believe that that's not really reality, if I start to believe that, then I'm lost. I can't give up. I can't give up, because this is the way I was created. And this is what was intended to be. In spite of whether I went to school or what kind of education I got, this is where I am supposed to be. This is where I was going to end up being. This is where my grandmother and them told me, say, you're gonna do some great things in this world. And I don't consider myself great by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that if I can get one child to smile, if I can, talk to a family and correct their patterns of dysfunctionality, whether they become happy, where their kids start to it. I've always told people I don't ever want anything out of life. I just want my kids and my grandkids to respect what I've done, what I've been. If they can respect that, then they have the foundation for where they're going to go, because everything starts with respect. If your children don't respect you, it's a miserable life. My kids respect me, and I love that. I'd like to live another 100 years based on that. Just having my children say, "My dad did this, my granddad did this." That's, to me, is my that's my riches. That's my goal right there. And so we have to keep striving. We have to find something that's worth. Once a guy told me, he says, if you haven't found something worth dying for, you probably haven't found anything worth living for.
Absolute.
You know, and to me, that's worth living for.
Mm.
It's also worth dying for, because if I can, any kind of way, stop people from hurting my family, my children, my grandkids, or being destructive of who they are, to me, that's worth fighting for. And when we are here fighting every day, and we are speaking what might be deemed negative terms about the societies and systems that we live in, those things can get you killed. Those are the
Mhm.
things that sent Mandela to jail. Those are the things that got Malcolm X killed, murdered. Those are the things that got Martin Luther King murdered. Those are the things that got Medgar Evers murdered. And so we have to be prepared for that, but we don't allow that to to impede us in such a way that we can't move forward, that we can't stick to our plan. If my plan is to be that example and to move forward with all my heart and all my mind and all my spirit, with those three combinations, there's absolutely nothing on this planet can stop me.
I share.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We have a comment here from Portia who said, our forefathers paved the way for us. We must continue paving the way for the next generation. Like, in other words, like you said, if we imagine what our forefathers, like your grandfather, our grandmothers, went through during this period and they survive, it must have been really the control and the divine protection that they had to go through that. Then
And
imagine in our own generation when, yes, we're looking at circumstances, but we are not in that limitation. Like you said, they will muzzle up even just to feed you.
that's
Of
right.
course, it's still now in another kind of a way, but if we compare the past and we see what they went through, I think it's much easier for us to know the reason why we need to bundle up all our energy, love one another, and just be there to correct or to elevate one another, isn't it? That's
Oh,
what we're for.
without a doubt, because I often wonder, I say, how could people being treated, being beaten, being raped, come through that and still able to smile so that they could make us smile?
Yes.
That's that's strength. That's power. You do not want your children to suffer. And the only way you can do that is that you must be able to put forth a, a smile. You must be able to smile. You must be able to show them that the sun comes up every day. Not the sun that they talk about in the Bible, but the sun comes up every day.
Hmm.
And we must be prepared to walk out into that sun and to trust that the spirit of the universe is with us.
Hmm.
It's with us. No matter what goes on, no matter what people do out there, it's with you. And you can only survive this madness if you trust and believe that. You must believe, and people always say, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Because when you believe in yourself, guess what? You are believing and giving credence to the Almighty, the spirit of the universe, because that's what brought you into existence. So, whatever attributes that you have, you can't claim them because you read a few books. You claim them because you're connected with the spirit of the universe that brought all things into fruition.
Hmm.
Follow your just like somebody that says trust and follow your inner self, because your inner self will not lie. Your inner
Yes.
self will not lie. If you follow exterior stuff, you get lost and confused and discombobulated. You follow your inner self, and you'll
Hmm.
be all. We will be successful one day. I believe it, and I know a lot of people say, "Man, you're crazy." I believe that one day Africa will come back together and control all of its resources, and its people will be happy. Its people they will no longer be hungry. Because why should people live on the greatest and the most fruitful continent on the planet be hungry?
Hmm.
Or
Um, the,
somebody's not doing what they're supposed to do, or somebody is taking more than they share.
Yes. Actually, what great blackness said was truth follow your inner self. And if you
Mm,
look at us as African people, particularly, we're talking, oh my goodness, particularly we're talking about the leadership in sanctuary, like Professor James was talking about, our
mm,
people, in the diaspora, enslaved and on, and the continent acting as if, you know, they are not part of it. I mean, that's a lot of lie out there. Or
mm.
that I can't be at peace with myself when I know that I, I've committed, I'm lying or I did something. So that
You
reconciliation,
can't.
like
You
you said,
can't.
is the
We
truth.
we are we are self. We are created in a way that we are supposed to be able to. Uh, that's why you can't say that I didn't know, I didn't understand that I did wrong. We know when we do wrong.
Yes.
We know when we do wrong. So you can't come to me with an excuse, but I didn't know any better,
Mm,
because your inner self will tell you the truth. That your
correct.
inner self will not lie. The body does not lie. It's these manipulations of our thought patterns that lie, because we get all inundated with all these different things that we think that somehow we can manipulate a process and we can come out on top. Well,
Mm,
the body does not lie. The mind will lie if it's confused. So, in order to, we have to find a way not to be confused. And the way we don't be confused is we don't allow all these things to inundate our brain so that they become constant messages going back and forth. I forget, somebody did some tests, and they claimed that we think the same thoughts how many hundreds of times are doing one day, the same thoughts. We can't allow that to happen. You want to have your brain refreshed, continuously being refreshed, being accessing new information, accessing greater spiritual awareness. Because the mind, the spirit, and the heart it culminates into your soul.
mhm,
The soul will not lie. The
mhm,
soul will display what its true feelings are. But it only operates when we're operating in unison. Just like African people, and one day they're going to be operating in unison again. And when our soul and our mind and our spirit is all operating in unison, then we are healthy physically, we are healthy mentally, and we are healthy spiritually. And a healthy individual cannot think negative thoughts. They
mm.
won't allow it.
Now, I want us to
I,
stick
I
in this.
like this. Leo writes here, so we are in a warfare against ourselves. And he
Yes.
is absolutely right, because we allow ourselves to be inundated with all this stuff, and we have to be fighting back against it, pushing it out. We have to fight all day. It's just like if a negative thought come in your mind, you have to fight to get that out. You have to say, I don't, you hear that old saying, get thee behind me, Satan. This is the time when you have to push it out. But you have that power. Instead of being taught that we have that power, we are taught that we have to somehow access that power from someplace else. And we don't. We already have that power, but we have to utilize it, and we have to practice it every day.
Mhm. Um, I want us to stick a little bit on this process of truth,
Mhm.
because, like you said, and that's one of the fundamentals. The truth is what actually will set us free. We're talking about the Africans. Now we look at the continent and we look at the diaspora. It's us. And is there going to be any kind of a way that we just say, all right, our minds, if we think positively, or we breathe the spirit of staying strong in our mind, and then we would just get united? Or there is a process of justice that is put in place by the creator. There is a continent that has turned its back on its diaspora. We can
Mhm.
blame it on anything for whatever. It's been 400 years. The world has civilized. The Africans on the continent, the kingdoms and the leaders, they know the reality of today. That is the truth.
Mhm.
That is the reality. Now, and how would ever any kind of justice just happen without the process of reconciliation, a forgiveness, appeasement, um, from the continent to its diaspora? We did not choose to be here. We did
Mhm.
not organize to be here. And so I think that truth is missing. And in as much as that truth is missing, I don't ever see us like the mother that you said. Despite the fact that the mother, his baby, he went out to preach peace. Is the continent even reaching out to preach peace to its own, to bring that unity? How would that function when the truth will not be put on the table, and some kind of things sought out?
Well, let's put it this way: you're putting the truth on the table today. I think that there are people all over, not just here, but on the continent, who are putting out the truth. Maybe it's not as widespread as we would like to be, or we don't hear it in the media, but then you don't expect to because we don't control those media outlets. The reality of it is that there are people who are fighting every day to bring that reality that you just spoke about into fruition. There are people who are fighting every day. I know Dr. Kofi, who was from Nigeria. Uh, he's in Washington D.C. and he's opened up a school there where he's educating young boys, young black boys, about the process, how we need to reconnect. We need to reconnect with the people on the continent, and how they need to be reaching out over to us here. And I think that process is happening. It's not happening. It's not being magnified in the media outlets that we have access to, but it is happening because I know people pretty much everywhere. And I know that these people are sincere because they call me and they say, Dr. Kweku, what can I do? How am I supposed to feel about this? And I encourage people, gain control of your thinking and stop studying, their information and start reaching for your own information. There is so much information that's available to our people about us, written by us, documented by us, but most people don't have access to this information. And so it is a continuous fight. Like now, you have this big battle going on about CRT, which is, I guess, what they call critical race theory. They don't want to teach the truth about what they have done to African people in America because they saying it's going to make their white counterparts, their white students, feel bad and feel like they are oppressors. Once again, the truth is being avoided, and we don't seem to have power to snuff that because they have control of all the institutions. So they're even now busy right now taking African books out of the school system so that the kids won't learn about Black people. They won't learn about African people. So, but there are people who are fighting every day to bring that information forward. And so we have to stop participating in a lot of what we call traditional institutions in these lands, these foreign lands that we're in, and start creating our institutions right here where we are for our people to study from. That's the one of the things that we can do, because you can't allow your children to be educated by another system and then expect them to be ready to return to the ideas of Africa and African unity.
Yes, that's the point. That's the point that
Yeah.
I'm saying. At the end of the day, yes, we're doing these petty things, connecting, bringing it's the duty, and everybody is called, like you said, to do it. The
Mhm.
fundamentals, the basic, is still lacking. Why? If you look at even the confusion, and I mean, we have kingdoms, we have leaders that don't even know that their children are drowning and dying every day at sea.
Mhm.
I want to believe, I want to put it this way, in a kind of a rhetorical way, that they don't know, which is even more than to say they know and they ignore, so they don't know. And number two, babies, women raped, trafficked, and everything, and they seem to not know. So if we go into the divine concept of it, of spirituality and truth, and to our original laws, and of the divine creator, some
Mhm.
wisdom and knowledge, not even to know this thing, is hidden from us. Let me just say, it's hidden from us. It's not
Mhm.
yet on it. We might be trying to relocate the ones that are going back to the continent. But if you look at the young people, in Libya, you look at a whole street, a whole country is like another country and another country, fleeing from all the different countries,
Mhm.
fleeing even from their resources,
Mhm.
scattered all over the world, and something is just not adding right. So my question, I still go back to it. there is some truth. And I still think that truth is because we don't recognize where the solution is. The diaspora that has been in this case, that has the skills, has the knowledge, has the potential. These are your children that were enslaved or were taken into slavery or whatever happened, right? And when are we going to reconcile that aspect? For instance, you have a solution. Why is the continent not listening? When are we going to merge this, the kingdoms, our children in the diaspora, our people in the diaspora, to just sit and have a conversation on? Because if they were even done, if they knew it, honestly, we will not be talking about, they will not even sleep a second without getting the diaspora back, without fighting to get them to come home, because they know that's where the solution is. What is keeping the knowledge away from us if it is not the fact that we are not acknowledging this truth?
Well, I wouldn't say knowledge is the way knowledge is being kept away from people having access is that people have allowed themselves to allow these systems to come in and replace their institutions. So the information that they're receiving is an information that teaches people how to uh, engage and access resources to a certain degree where people can live certain kinds of lifestyle. The lifestyle of the rich and famous premates throughout the world. Everybody is trying to maintain control of the resources so that they can control the people. Unfortunately, some of our people are just as gluttonous, see, as those people. They'll come out. You had people like Idi Amin. I know you remember when he was in power, how he was murdering and slaughtering his own people. And this guy was, I mean, he was living rich. And you have a lot of leaders in the motherland who are living really rich, but the rest of the people are suffering. So what they have done is they've taken a page out of the book of the oppressor and they're using it against their own people. And once again, it always goes back to this one point. My grandfather said, if you haven't found something worth living for, if you haven't found something worth dying for, you haven't found anything worth living for. You have to be willing to make sacrifices beyond your present existence in order for you to be a spokesman out here in the universe and have people listen to you.
Mm,
Because if you're not willing to take that risk, those people are not going to be willing to take that risk. Somebody has to
absolutely.
set the examples. Malcolm X set the example. Uh, Martin Luther King set the example. Kwame set the example. Uh, so we have to continue to try to energize, to let that energy flow so that people feel like, I want to do something to bring the world back together, to bring our humanity, our African humanity back with one pattern of thought that we're looking out for all of our people globally, all of our children. Now, in order for people to do that, they have to understand that life is more than gold. Life is more than resources. You know, love is greater than any power in existence. But in order to love in the totality of what the meaning of love, that means that everything else comes in second. That love is the universal cure for all things in the universe. Love is the universal cure because if I love you, I can't bring harm to you. If I love you, I can't let you be hungry. If I love you, I cannot hold you in captivity, and not necessarily with some kind of physical armed camp, but with a system that encases people's ability to move forward or to be progressive. Just like you have people here in America, and you say, well, why do these African people think like that? They've been indoctrinated for 400 years, but so have some of the rest of us been indoctrinated. But some of the rest of us show us, so wait a minute, somehow this is not coming out equal. No matter how much we've strived, no matter how much we read, no matter how much we study, no matter what university we go to, somehow our people in America are not equal. They don't have equal access. And so until we get back to the main key here, which is love, you have to love life. You have to love people more than you love yourself. You have
So,
to, yeah, go ahead.
um, all right. If really everything sounds equal, is it okay to really say that,
No,
we've not we've not we've not arrived that point
no,
of
we're
love?
not equal now. We're not equal. Well, we're equal in the eyes of the creator in the universe, but in the eyes of these, I don't know, you can refer to them as devils or whatever you want, or these evil people who choose to be selfish about sharing. You can't love and share in the same voice. I can't
Sure.
share with you and not love you. Understand what I'm saying? So these people are not willing to share. So they may say love out of their mouths, but their actions depict something else. You know, these people don't love their people. They say they do because it's convenient. They're on TV or whatever mechanism that they have to get the message out about what they're trying to do. But in reality, you cannot care about the people and then allow the kind of institutions to be established in your area where people are abused, where people are hungry, where people don't have work, where people are living on the street. We have to rise. We somehow convince ourselves that some of these people are good. They just caught up in something. They're not caught up in something. They are not good. You are not good if you thinking more about yourself than you're thinking about all of the humanity. And
Ashe.
so we may be afraid to say that. And if you're evil, you're evil. And the reason why you're evil has no place. If people are willing to change, and that's the whole thing, you have to be willing to change, which is one of the hardest things for people to do. People find it real difficult to change their behavior that they've been indoctrinated with. So what we have to do is to convince them that changing their behavior is going to elevate them to an even higher place in a universal process. But that takes time. Because you're talking about re-educating people, which means it's almost like somebody going into a drug addiction clinic. First, you got to get all the drugs out of the system, and then you got to start to replace that mentality that caused them to use drugs with a positive mind construct. So what we have to do is to, in the process of just everyday life, it's not like we have access to these people where we can set them down in a classroom or some kind of university or place and teach them about the evils of how they manipulate processes and try to control people so that they can live one life and the other people can live a different kind of life. So we have to continue to fight for, every day. If we have an old saying in my organization, each one teach one. You have access to people. Every time if it's only one person and I'm in a counselor, my job is not necessarily to get them on a level playing field, to get them, in a state where they can function, but it's also to plant the seed that they can take that to the next person. They
Mm.
don't have to be a psychologist. They don't have to be a reverend. All they have to do is be a vehicle by which the information is have access by other people. And that's the whole objective here, is to find a way to get information available to people who need it and who are willing to hear it, or people who have lived their lives are in such turmoil where they're saying, I don't want to live this life anymore. I want my life to be different. Then you have a person, a vehicle that's ready for change. But it's difficult to pull all those pieces together on a global thing. So we have to do them in their camps. You're doing it by doing this TV show, African TV. I do it every day in my work when I'm doing counseling sessions.
Mhm.
I do it every day doing Zoom meetings with different people. because and here's the thing, we have to be consistent.
Yes.
Every time people come into my purview, they know what to expect from me because it's not changing. It's all about one thing: you reclaiming your power, you reconnecting with the power in the universe, you being a part of that creative universe that brought forth all things unto humankind. And so we have to continue to work toward that. And I would be the first one to tell you, I think sometimes if we focus so much on things don't look like they're changing much, or we're not getting access to all the people that we want to, if we focus on that, sometimes we can get discouraged. So I have to get up every day and tell myself it's a brand new day, and there's somebody out there that maybe I have the ability to change their focus of their life. And if it's one, each one teach one, and every time I get an opportunity to do so, that's why a lot of times I may not even necessarily feel like going, not from a physical standpoint, but people will call me and say, "Hey, Dr. Quaker, will you come over here and talk?" And I might say, "Oh wow, man, I've been really busy this week," but then in my mind I say, "No, this is another opportunity for you to go and spread the information that you have that may benefit somebody," and that's the attitude that you have to take.
Thank you very much, Doc. It's really empowering and motivating. Everything that we say, even critical thinking and challenging ourselves to what actually is the way forward or as a solution. But you see, it's like your work, my work, all activists or Pan-African. There's always a step where you start and you see a blockage, and
Yeah.
some already have given up. We know it. It's not easy to want to, in a process where you see the solution and you know how it's going to work, but nothing seems to work. But the one good thing that you've said is like we have to, it's a continuous process of teaching. Like today, we want the continent to understand this.
Mhm.
Like you said, it's 2022. We love life.
Yeah.
We want to live. We are energetic. We are ready. But we cannot be here doing the work in the background. The diaspora is ready. They look at the continent and the challenges, they have the solutions,
Mhm.
but the continent is not. It acts as if they don't want to give that access, as if they're in competition with ourselves. Like the continent is in competition with its own children. We can
Mhm.
put it that way. And like you
Right.
said, there's nothing that we have to, because we're teaching and they're listening and they're hearing this,
Mhm.
it makes that change.
Right.
To say, yes, there is nothing. We're not in competition with ourselves. We're not against each other, but
Mhm.
we are even for ourselves. So in that case, we just hope that the process go, but we're not going to stop here. Because for me, I know there is a truth that has been hidden, like you said. And if that truth is not open, and that truth must not be that we definitely maybe would have a congress or something like that and sit together and say this. That truth could just only be to facilitate the homecoming of the diaspora. Those
Yes.
that want to make a home, please give them the possibility, give them the land, give them
Right.
the infrastructures that they need. That's all. But if you expect that, okay, they're already giving a handshake, they're coming on their own, even when what you're supposed to do, your responsibility, you didn't take it, but they're coming on their own, but they still come home and they get some difficulties. That I don't think we would ever agree to that.
Mhm. No, no, we wouldn't. But it should not impede our process of continuing to, facilitate the process of going home, to rejoining, and making yourself available, and being able to teach. I think one of the greatest things that can happen is for people in America and other uh, areas of diaspora to return to Africa and be shining lights to demonstrate to people that it is not what it seems like. World perspective is not necessarily a reality that we want to get caught up in. We need to reestablish our own reality here on the motherland and the continent of Africa. And I think we have to keep striving and shooting for that and accessing and praying for more access and moving toward more access. Because I know you have a lot of different brothers and sisters on your show. And these brothers and sisters are very much aware of what's going on, and they're availing themselves to people so that they can have access to this information. I don't think unless we have the ability to move around the world at will, that's all we can do. But I think that's not a small thing to educate the people within your purview, which is going to somebody out of that group of that you have educated is going to take it a step further. Malcolm them brought us to where I am today. Our job is to carry it forth where people will be even stronger in the future, and people will start to see that the United States of America is not this great place for all people to be.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And that is in the more reason that I think we have to curve our conversations towards us. Because I
That's
think
right.
we give this leadership or the responsibility, the responsibles too much privileges. We give them
Yeah.
too much privileges by always thinking that after 400 years, somebody took a brain and is programming and they relax and they're
Yeah.
not taking that responsibility. It's a continuous process. We're going to
It is
continue
what
on
it is.
it, but I think our conversations, even our way of negotiation, even our way of asking, even of our way, our approach should be different. I talked to one doctor and I was like, it is like we diasporans are begging for what belongs to us. Maybe our
Right.
approach should be different. We have to educate our leadership that the process is a process of not just a win-win, it's a
Mm.
process of responsibility. If I take my
Responsibility.
responsibility, like you say, the African Americans or the diaspora is going, the diaspora is doing everything. I sit here every day, I get all the questions, I get all the motivation, most of them, and they even taking the loans, they take selling their houses and going to like, I'm going back home. But if home doesn't even recognize you, and home
Mm.
sees just the passport that you're holding and not the person in you, and you're talking about that love, how can they be this love when I don't recognize the one that is my own, even if it was lost, like the prodigal son? I don't recognize. My brain has sudden that memory is not there to connect me to it. So I
Mm.
think the conversations should go more on our responsibilities and our duties. Us
Mm.
in the diaspora, the continent, everybody has to stick to his own duties and take that
Right.
responsibility and go up for it. It will make things much easier.
Oh, without a doubt, I agree with you that I'm what you call a Malcolmite. You don't ask for something that's already been given to you by the Creator. You demand respect. You demand your fair share of what's existing in the universe. You reach out for that, and you like say you don't ask people for what's already been given you. And so we have to demand that a certain process of how we interact, and we have to demand that those things be taken into serious consideration.
Thank
We
you.
have to, yeah, we have to demand those. We can, nobody. One of Malcolm's favorite saying was, "Nobody ever got their freedom and their justice by asking the oppressor." You go to the oppressor and say, "I'm taking my liberty here." You don't give me anything. I'm taking it. It's already been given to me by the Creator. I'm not going to allow you to take it. And I think we have to have that attitude, but also an attitude of being a communicator and how we can bring other people along with that and have them thinking under the same vein, because
Sure.
it can't be a few of us out here on the line. It has to be all of us out here bringing the same message, saying we want to go home and we're going home and we're demanding to be home because that's our home. And so
Absolutely.
yeah, it's not like here in America. We don't have nothing here, and people are constantly fighting, talking about, well, you're talking about separation, some of our own people. So I understand the psychology that you're talking about from the brothers and sisters on the continent. We have people here who are talking about, Well, if you're talking about what you're talking about, you're talking about separation. No, we're not talking about separation. We're talking about a people coming together for their own benefit, for their own community, for their own children, for their own land, and being able to, uh, you know, demonstrate their own regulations on how they want to live. I don't
Yes.
need somebody from outside coming me telling me how to establish my village. I remember years ago, I was in Oakland, California, and they were having a workshop there on how to teaching black folks how to take their communities back. And I almost fell out laughing when I went in there. You wouldn't believe this. They had brought two white guys from down south to teach black people
Mhm.
how to take their land back. And I said, what a joke. And not only was it a joke, but they paid these guys a lot of money to come in and teach us how to take our own. So we have to move away from this whole separation or integration thing. We have to talk about, let me clean my house and then I'll have a conversation with you. Let us take care of our own house, and then we can have a conversation with you about how we're going to interact with each other. But don't be
Thank
trying to
you.
don't be trying to tell me that I'm trying to be a separatist if I don't want to mix with other people. It has nothing to do with it. It has to me. I clean up my house first, and then we have a conversation. Okay, and
Absolute.
yes, that's the psychology that we have to move forward with. We can't continue to go in, spinning this wheel around. Oh, well, we'll try this, we'll make this rule, we'll change this law. None of that stuff has been beneficial. I don't care if they make Malcolm, I think Martin Luther King made a speech many years ago, and they very rarely play it. And he says, you can change laws, but you can't legislate what's in the hearts of men. I don't care how many laws they pass in Washington. It has nothing to do with what I feel and what I think in here. And so they don't change one white person's heart out there that would not give up their space, not for 1 minute, to allow black folks to have equal access. They will not do it. So you can't, laws mean nothing unless they are laws that are put together by us, saying this is what we want and this is what we'll accept and this is what we will not deal with. But
Absolute.
we have to be decisive in our efforts, and we cannot stand around and watch our people, our children, get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into a system of dysfunctionality. And then we wonder, why are they acting the way that they're acting? They're acting
Mhm.
the way they're acting because that's what they've been educated to do. That's what they've been taught to do. That's what
Mhm.
we have allowed them to be taught to do. No longer will we allow them to educate our children. No longer will we allow them to tell us where we can live, where we can't live. We have to set those markers, not them, because you have a lot of our people here in America who are sitting back waiting on somehow these people to have a change of heart. They're not going to have a change of heart because they're going to look out for who they are. And we need to be looking out for who we are, our people and our children. And moving forward, that should be our total focus. If we are not able to work in some company because we have, our people have to walk around. They almost have to like be two people. You have to be one person in order to survive, and another person over here. You can't. That is not the way the Creator made us. We can't be for God part time and then the other part of the time we're for somebody else. We have to be totally committed to being connected with that creative energy that gives us the energy and the fortitude to be able to stand up against all forces in the universe.
Yes.
That's
So
what we
the one, let me take this call. I think there's a caller
have.
that has a question. Hello? Hello? Yes. Greetings.
Hello, sir. Good evening. I'm enjoying your program.
Sorry, sorry, sorry. I can remove it 2% come here. Just hold on 1 second, please. Okay. Hello?
Hello, sir. Am I on air?
Yes, yes.
how are you?
I'm great, brother. How are you? How are you?
I'm very well, sir. I'm very well, sir. You're saying great stuff. We need more people like you, sir. We need more people like you. But the truth is, we need to start rising now. The
Yes, brother. I
praise.
agree with you on that. Thank you. Thank you for your kind words, and thank you for coming on and participating. But you are an instrument to be used for this purpose also. We all are equally responsible for saving our people. We are all equally responsible. And I think that if we can hold on to that idea that I am not fighting for just my household, I'm fighting for all of the children of Africa.
Okay.
Everybody,
I think he has a question. Let it go. Let him go ahead, Doc.
go
Wait.
ahead. Go ahead.
Doctor, doctor, mine is
Yes.
like an awareness question. An awareness question. It's not just a question. We live in a world whereby Jacob Zuma is in prison and Dr. Fauci is a hero, even though we now all know that the vaccine, the virus came from a lab, not in a Wuhan market. We live in a world where the black people all around the world, we can rise up and challenge the whole world. Brother, I've been living in Europe for almost 25 years. I have never seen Manchester United's players bow down for a black man until I saw George Floyd's murder. I'm happy for the uprising. We all came together to support George Floyd. Prove the world that we won't go down this way. But brothers and sisters, and young youth, Pan-African children that listen to me tonight, listen to me. We said a joke at work. I'm a builder. We said a joke at work, and it has been beating my spirit for almost 2 weeks. A man said to me, we were talking about racism and all, and he said to me, Ben, you blacks don't understand racism. You just like Mickey Man's story. How can you all rise up for George Floyd, but look at 25 years of oppression of Zimbabwean citizens? Their neck have been strangled for 25 years, and no one black citizen is rising up to say Black Lives Matter for Zimbabwe. Now, we whites, that's the kind of people we see. You can rise up with George Floyd, and everybody will surrender to you. But the fact that you blacks as a race cannot rise up in all embassies around the world, in the British embassies and the American embassies all over the world, and say, look, we are not going anywhere until you set Zimbabwe free, just like we did for George Floyd. Now, this is the cancer that an outside, a black citizen is looking at us. How can we be a race that will rise up for a policeman shooting a black guy, but we can't rise up for Zimbabwe? We can look at the swamps of South Africa. Are we saying that after 25 years of black leadership, the black man was better under apartheid than what we see today? Brother, I got a post today from a good friend of mine. This is why he said to me, Ben, these two people are Africans. One is Julius Malema, one is Eli Mars. Now, they're all South Africans. They're all Africans. One wants to go to Mars because he knows he can never be a president in South Africa. One has been shouting, the land belongs to us. The land belongs to us for so many years. You cannot pinpoint one factory he has built for South Africa. Brothers, let us stop talking. Enough talking. We have to rise for this Africa. We have to rise for and stand up. We have to rise. We live in a world where, as we speak, a black liberator, he spent most of his youth fighting for South African liberation. Because of economic mismanagement, we blacks have locked him in jail. But we have never locked up one single white South African gangster, these boas that squander the wealth of Africa. We have never locked up one. But the black man, from the days he starts selling his own children and swapping them for mirror and gunpowders and shaving sticks, that spirit has never left us. I'm telling you. It has never left us. It's the same spirit that we live in today, that we have consumed with the idea that when we say the right thing, we're doing the right thing. No, it's a lie. It's deception. Malcolm has told us. He said, this talking might be our character. That means we will talk forever. If we don't rise and take action, this talking we'll be talking, we'll be singing Bob Marley while China is taking over Africa. We'll be singing Zimbabwe by Bob Marley. Why this Western economical science? Look, we are the most dangerous people in the world. George Floyd showed us that. Let me tell you something. God shows us a lot of things in a different way. I'm not talking about weapons. I'm not talking about guns. But one thing the death of George Floyd showed black people that we are the most dangerous people in the world.
How?
I've never seen the Premiership or the Champions League standing up for Palestinians. But because of George Floyd death, the whole world stood up for Black Lives Matter. Look, the whole world stood up and honored George Floyd. That means if we come together with one voice, and we stand and say, look, we are not buying all these products from you guys anymore. All over the world. Kwame Nkrumah did it. The most intelligent black man I've ever heard of. It's not all this stuff.
Can you round up? Can you round up, brother? Yes.
Let's just rise up with one voice and say no to certain things that are famous. Let us stop talking. If you can do it for George Floyd, then stand up and do it for Zimbabwe. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for participating.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. And I wasn't able to, hear all of it real clear, but I do agree with you that if they can stand up for George Floyd around the world, they can stand up every day for all of the atrocities that's happening to people globally and certainly on the continent and in America and other areas of diaspora also, Haiti. And, so it's so much, we have to, one of the things we have to do as we can do as local groups here is formulate and come together. One of the things is, and that's a difficult thing, just like it's difficult on the continent to bring all of those different countries together. It's just as different to bring all these different people together here in America. And which was one of the reasons why Malcolm was murdered, was because Malcolm was the one who said, well, wait a minute, Malcolm traveled to Africa and the different places and met with different African brothers and sisters who were kings and queens from different areas to start the dialogue about how we can work together. And when he came back, one of the things that he had in mind was to go to the United Nations and demand, not ask, demand that African people in America be treated with some kind of dignity and respect and given the same human rights as everybody else. And that was one of the reasons why the FBI was instrumental in killing him, even though it was for black men that actually did the shooting. They were really working for the FBI. And so those are the kind of places that we need to put pressure on. And one of the things that the brother, I don't know if he's aware of it, but do you know that almost 2/3 of the people who are sitting in the United Nations is people from African countries, but they have no power? Why are they there if they have no power? Their vote don't count. So somehow we have to transform that, or inspire or motivate these people to such a degree that while they are saying, well, I'm not going to sit in here in the United Nations if we have no power, if we don't have any ability to transform some of these countries that are dehumanizing our people every day. So no, I agree with you. We need to do that. And one of the things that I really want to do, I used to work with an organization called All African People's Revolutionary Party. And during that time, that was back during the 60s, it was all about education. So because a lot of us didn't understand we didn't understand the history. We didn't understand the geography. We didn't understand all of our people were being dehumanized in all these different areas. Now we understand that it's time, to take it to the next phase and say, we are no longer. We want to continue. Something's wrong.
Sorry.
Yeah, we want to continue to educate, but now it has to be about action. We need to approach the United Nations. We need to, when something happened in Nigeria or wherever it happens at, we need to find a way to rise up and put pressure on people here, because regardless of, these people are making money in all of these spaces in the motherland. We have to shut them down or let them know that just like George Floyd, you can't murder our people in the street, where you can't starve our people to death on the continent. So yeah, with that, I'll yield back.
Unmute you. Okay. I think we'll get this one last.
Hello.
We're going to get this one last question, and then we round up for the day. Yes.
Okay, I have one question, and I'm calling from California. My question is, Why do we as Black people always feel like we have to ask anybody, any organization, whether it's world or countrywide or nationwide? We don't need to ask anybody nothing. We just need to do it. And another thing is, I don't think any Black person, Black country should be part of the United Nations. We can form our own African nation. We got enough people, we got enough country. We don't need to be part of these people, their organization. First of all, we're not welcome. We'll never be welcome. They don't want us there. They don't like us. They don't respect us. We should just leave these people 100% alone and do our own thing, form our own organization, and that's it. And you know what else? Let's try 1 year or 5 years, keep them out of Africa and do our own thing. Let's see what will happen. Let's try that and just work with the diaspora all over the world and tell them until you get your act together, you're not welcome here. That's it. Let's try that. We should stop begging and asking these people for exception. That's one of the problems. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, brother. In California, you're just next door to Reverend Dr. Ninana.
Yeah, I appreciate you, brother, and I agree with you. Yeah, we don't need to ask anymore. It's time for doing. Thank you very much for your question and answer.
Thank you so much, Reverend Doctor. I mean, it's a pleasure. When am I having you? The next 2 weeks?
Well, you just let me know. Just I just need 2 or 3 days advance notice so that I can work my schedule around it. As long as it's going to be, well, if it's on the weekend, it's easy. During the week, my day gets broken up in so many different pieces. Sometimes I don't know where I'm going to be at from one time to another. So it's hard for me to get a couple of hours to sit down and talk. But if you do it on Saturday or Sunday, I'm your guy. I'm available.
Exactly. We're putting this permanent structure. And I think even Professor James Small said we keep our psychologists and our motivation on Sundays. So Sundays will definitely put you on, and Dr. Wade Nobles and the other psychologists that we'll have every Sunday. Would that be okay? Fair.
That would be great.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I mean, one of the things that we learned today for our audience is the demand aspect of it. Of course, like the last caller and our brother in the UK actually said, or in Ireland said, these are not things that we need to negotiate. These are things that we have to just maybe just keep it out of our mind for the next 3-5 years and focus on ourselves and demand ourselves that respect. Like you, Reverend, said, the only thing that we need from one another is respect.
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 And one thing that brother said is something I had said earlier. We need to formulate these kinds. I was talking about the United Nations, and I tell people all the time, we don't need to be going to their entities requesting stuff from them. This is for our people. We go out and tell you what we want, and we demand it. That's the role that we have to take moving forward, because all of the dialogue and all of the praying and marching has done it's run its gamut. It's now time for us to establish and formulate organizations and structures so that we can move forward and taking the responsibility for what goes on with our people.
Okay, Reverend, please, if you permit, let me take us this call. I think it's really from Russia or something. Hello.
Yeah. Hello, mommy. Good day.
Good day. Good day to you. Welcome on the show.
Yeah, mommy. I just want to support what that my brother just said now. So we are happy, and that's good news. So we have to take it very serious in Africa, because when we do that, in the space of 1 year, 3 years, or 4 years, you see that this side of the world will collapse. So that's what we need to think of, to build Africa together and to bring the unity back in Africa. Because these people split us in the century, So they bring us confusion in Africa. So we can't find ourselves together anymore. So believe me, if this what our brother say now is very, very interesting and very, very important. I followed the other program yesterday about the other comrade yesterday. He said something about the global
African League.
Games in Africa.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is very, very essential to bring those who don't have jobs, to make them to collide with sport, to have something to occupy themselves. Because if you find Africa today,
why you find these things are not there in Africa, because most government in Africa, they do so much embezzling and lies telling. They keep our people down and they keep our people in poverty. That's why you find so many black Africans in different countries in the world, because of their country is very poor. They don't like to travel. If the country is very rich, they will not go out from their country. It's just because they are very poor and they are looking for means to survive. That's why they flee out of their own country.
Absolutely.
Then you find the Wealthy way, they implicate war fighting in our own planet, which is not good. So this problem that the European they are planting in Africa, we have to stop it. Don't take gun, you point at your brother. Your brother is your brother. So we have to stop this. Let Africa be a country people can live. They will be jealous to come in Africa.
Absolutely.
We don't need them anymore. Let them leave us. We are free people. We don't need them anymore. Let them go for good.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling Russia.
From Russia. Thank you so much for your contribution. Yes. Over to you, Rev.
Yeah, thank you very much. We really appreciate you, brother. That's you from Russia. We need to connect these dots up with all of the different people who are calling, and we can formulate a global council on how we should respond to the different things that's going on in reference to our people around the world. So thank you very much for your statement. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I mean, each time you come here, I mean, it's been a couple of times. I think the audience can testify that we never been having this kind of calls, but you see the spirit and the motivation that you bring, and you teach and you motivate and you call up that action. Provokes people also to get engaged, to be participative, to be responsive, and to take this action of responsibility. So I do thank you so much, Rev, and I will get in touch with you. We walk up the next appointment when you are coming back on the show. Thank you, and we see us anytime soon. Yeah. So, and for our listeners, tomorrow we're going to have another guest, and the conversation is going to be just an analysis of our social media expert, Patrick Kasarim. Patrick wants to give us a rundown on what he has observed during this African Cup of Nations in Cameroon and the other things, because he's been busy posting and the reactions and the comments from the viewers, from our global participants worldwide. He wants to share the feedback with us, how this 1 week on Afghan has been going on. And then there's another critical aspect. We have I think three brothers or content creators on Facebook that actually reached us to us, and Facebook took down their pages because they had to stream live the AFCON games. So we are calling on Africans to resist, not to resist, to withdraw from streaming the live content of the AFCON games for whatever reason. I think Patrick will have to explain more on that. They took a brother in Sierra Leone's page, which is having more than 1 million followers. And today I was just talking to our sister Fatou Jaye, who was on the show with us talking about this African human trafficking. And today we had a conversation, and she told me yesterday her page was also brought down because she had to make a comment and share the live stream of of African Federation Cup of Nations or something like that. So you see, those are some of the things that we say, these are African products, but how come that we have, all the invisible hands? What kind of contracts are they doing there? But isn't this something that should go in the communication that Africans should know? So the media is very important. If we had this information that the content of the AFCON would not be a stream, it is a private or a copyright whatever project of this and this and this, I think Africans will be more aware. But to get content or to get their pages pulled down without warning and without just even tell them bring down those, I think it's really malicious. And we're thinking that there should be another way where we can collaborate to communicate this kind of actions, particularly if they don't even know and they will have to go to that. But that brings us to the information technology that we're talking about. You have to observe where your stories are coming up and which news is relevant to you. So follow the Pan-African Daily TV. We update you with actually the do's and the nuts, right? And even health tips like we're talking today, and bring actually proactive and healthy things, how we do to build the Africa that we want collectively, each African being responsible. Another one last thing that it would be necessary for us to bring up, when we are individuals as content creators, Fatu brought her experience to the table, and I will still be reaching out to some other activists that also have had that experience and they've pulled back. It's like, some people just sit in the back and some people do the work, and these people are targeted, and you see the hand clapping of Africans. Oh, you're doing a good job, or you're doing this. And so what? That was a question. We all have to get involved and get engaged and get active. That is the responsibility that we're saying. I do my job, you do your job, right? So these are all conversations that we also will be looking at, trying to reach out to content creators that have actually, or activists that are so tired and just worn out. They don't get support and everything that they need to push forward their work. But when they become public influencers, everybody wants to mingle. Oh, I know Usman. Oh, I know this. But when it comes to actually doing the work on the ground, it is a challenge. That will be our other topics that will be coming on the Pan-African Daily TV. So I want to wish you a good night. It's been a wonderful Sunday, and every Sunday we're going to get our experts on our psychological, the mind aspect of the whole revolution. So we see us tomorrow, same time, with Patrick Kasarim. Good night. Bye-bye. You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want. Unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherland's calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.